drastically different playstyles between the two teams. But we have now entered the pick and ban phase, and we're getting right into the swing of things. It's Rek'Sai taken away from Condi. And how do Master respond?
That's no surprise. Condi has his highest win percentage on Rek'Sai. He has a 77% win rate with Rek'Sai, and it immediately drops off to about 33% on any other champion. Now, his most played champion is Lee Sin.
And right now, you can see Echo, the boy who shattered my ELO.
Again? Really? 1-2?
It's the 1-2 punch. At least I wasn't designed by Gypsy Lord, because then it would be 3. Hey! There it is.
There's so many layers. And then speaking of big priority picks, so we talked about Echo, Ryze.
Yep.
And there's the Ryze ban.
Exactly. They're running through the tier list right now. The next up is going to be, what is it, Ashe and then Olaf? Oh, it is Fizz.
No, we talked about
You're
Fizz.
right. It is Fizz.
Flandre.
But there's still 2 bans.
Yep.
Ashe and Olaf.
I don't think Ashe will be banned.
No?
There's a lot of Ashe is strong, but there's a lot of counterplay because she is so immobile. I think Riot did a great job with her rework. I think thematically, she's very similar to how she was. A lot of damage output, but it's compensated the fact that you just can't get away from anyone.
Yeah, and last up, it's Sivir and an immediate Kalista ban from Master. They weren't even waiting to see whether that was Sivir. They had that Kalista prepared for Deft, and on the other side, SMLZ not going to be on that very, very strong Sivir. That's a bit interesting.
It is going to be a first pick Gragas, however, for Clear Love. He has very little games on this champion. It was kind of a very hit and miss performance when he first picked up Gragas. I believe it was in the World Elite series. He didn't play it until the playoffs against World Elite. Still been kind of ramping up on it, but it's definitely not a big Clear Love pick if I were kind of to define his signature champions.
Yeah, Sejuani is still on the board, and while her overall damage was nerfed, I think that the nerf to Gragas in 5.10 was a little bit heavier. Yeah, there's the Lee Sin. That's something that you talked a little bit about earlier.
Yeah, he has played 12, or Condi has played 12 games on Lee Sin. His current record is 4-8. Now compare that to Clear Love's record on Lee Sin, which is 16-0. It's his favorite champion, but unfortunately, he just has not been able to make it connect.
It made it through the entire pick ban phase, but he first picked Gragas. So to me, that says EDG are coming into this with a plan. They're saying, you know what, we're in first place. You guys are in 6th place. That's okay. We're still going to take this completely serious. Koro opting into the Rumble, and Baimi going for that standard control mage Azir.
And again, we talked about how Cassiopeia had some recent hits to her early game on her spell vamp as well as her regen. So Azir now just a little bit brighter. We talked about the healthy ecosystem as far as picks and or nerfs and buffs were considered. Like, not every champion's numbers are directly hit, but if the corresponding champion in the matchup, Cassiopeia, is hit a little bit, that just makes Azir shine a little bit brighter. Yeah,
we'll definitely keep an eye on his brightness. Dade looking at Cassiopeia right now while SMLZ hovers the Gnar for Looper. Looper, the big consistent player for Master right now. He's going to be taking Gnar into that Rumble matchup. And it is going to be Cassiopeia locked in for Dade.
Now, Gnar is, of course, Looper's most played champion. He's played him 13 games, only has a 46% win rate on the champion, however.
He did play very well in his most recent showing on it.
Yeah, had a fantastic showing on his most recent Gnar. Thing that I also want to point out is in response to seeing the Cassiopeia on Dade, Baimi immediately changes out his barrier for the cleanse. And cleanse is very important against Cassiopeia simply because you cleanse the dot. It's not about the petrifying gaze, it's about her poison. Because if you cleanse that, especially when the Twin Fang is midair, then she can't get the reset on the Twin Fang, and it's the difference between a 1.5 second cooldown and a 7-second cooldown on her highest base damage ability.
And that will be the Twin Fang damage. Coming across from the other side, EDG taking a look at Jinx for Deft and Nautilus.
If the stats remain true, then this means that EDG has won because Deft is undefeated on Jinx. 17-0.
An amazing win record on that Jinx, and this puts a little bit of pressure onto Masters.
It's a very scary, and it fits very well. Now, EDG has always had a very strong pick with Jinx, even formerly when their ADC was Name as opposed to Deft, and they just work so well with the control. The space control to allow a hyper carry like Jinx to kind of pop in safely and do massive amounts of damage. And of course, joining her in the bottom is going to be Nautilus.
Yeah, and that's SMLZ just locked in a Quinn.
He's done weird
Masters
things.
3. That's interesting.
When he was on World Elite Academy, they played a bot lane. I believe this is when his support was Yushe, and they played a not Nautilus, Urgot Nasus. And this was before Urgot was an actual champion that was played. And it was the slow to find the homing. But yeah, it is going to be a Quinn Alistar bot lane.
That's going to be very interesting. A lot of damage. And I'm actually a bit curious to see whether or not Masters are going to opt into a lane swap right now. Because you talked about how...
They need the 2v2.
Yeah, Looper would be very good. But he is going up against Koro, one of the best players in the world. And...
Fair statement.
Quinn Alistar on the bottom. That's unique.
I'm so excited. I'm a big Quinn player.
It's going to be really exciting.
I'm ready to drop some numbers on Quinn. In the mid lane, though, it's going to be Baimi versus Dade because we are doing the player matchup there. So the Azir Cassiopeia, again, 5.10. Cassiopeia has seen some slight tweaks to an early game. That said, she still scales up wonderfully into late game.
Her late game is unchanged. Her sustain in lane is going to be the only thing that's hit Dade, Deft and SMLZ. Looking ready to get out some action in the bottom lane. How is the Quinn Alistar going to work? Like, I am legitimately curious because last I ever saw of Quinn was like she was relegated to top lane.
It's full burst. They have to go all in on level 2. So the thing about Alistar, his level 2 has always been incredibly strong because of the displacement CC. And likewise, his auto attacks actually do a surprising amount of damage, even post 6 when he has his ultimate, he gets like a free BF sword. But the level 2 Quinn burst damage on the level 2 Alistar all-in, that's what they need to look for, which means that they need to look for that 2v2. Yeah, so that will be Deft and Mako with the very squishy Jinx and a little bit of CC on that Nautilus. I'm really interested how the early warding is going to go out because you mentioned they have to get that 2v2 because of how that Quinn matchup is going to work out. So walk me through the mentality of this right now. Masters 3, they know they need to get the 2v2. How do they ensure that this happens? They need to invade, make sure that they place their lane swap wards, not necessarily because they want to initiate the lane swap, and really they just got this name because you place a ward behind the tower, but it's more so to check and to make sure that you find the matchup that you want so you can see them going to lane. So we should see an invade, especially because it is an Alistar, from Masters 3. And a very strong early composition from EDG as well. Do you think we could have any shenanigan level 1s going on? I mean, it's possible. Like I said, I expect Masters 3 to invade to place their wards so they can figure out how to align the Quinn Alistar against Jinx Nautilus, but I suspect that EDG will be looking for the swap just because the freeze potential, since Jinx is a hyperscaling champion, and likewise the fast push potential from Jinx are both viable options for EDG. Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting to see how that works out, and if that lane swap is something that we're going to be seeing early on. EDG looking to, are they also going to be looking for the 2v2? No, they'll look for a lane swap. They want the swap? I don't think they want to sit in a Quinn Alistar lane. It's a very scary one. We'll definitely keep an eye on whether those lane swaps come out as we're loading into the Rift right now. And we have now loaded onto the Rift. Hello, everyone. This is the LPL English broadcast. We're finally into our first game of the day. It's EDG versus Masters. And your eyes do not deceive you. That is Alistar Quinn in the bottom lane. And we talked about the importance of a lane swap, of Masters getting the 2v2 and EDG not getting into that 2v2. But right now, it looks like EDG are opting into it as they're going to start helping out Gragas with his red buff. And then they're going to head right back down. So we also kind of considered that there would be an invade. It wasn't an invade, it was just a standard 5-point. They placed their wards defensively in the river. So let's kind of talk about some of the tools that Jinx Nautilus are bringing into this lane. They're going to have far superior wave manipulation on that creep, as you see Deft right now laying down the immediate rockets to start pushing the wave forward. Because obviously, if you have the wave push forward and you have less of the enemy minions in front of you just because you're killing them faster, it opens a lot more opportunities to find that dredge line as opposed to a minion. Yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on Mako, the skill shot king, if he's able to land that, as so far he hasn't expended, there he goes, finally expending some of those Targon stacks to shove the wave right quick. Well, you typically want to hold on to your Targon stacks when you get immediately into lane. You can kind of proc the first one because, again, you want to get control of the wave to make sure that you don't get caught or surprised by a level 2, which obviously, again, the Alistar Quinn level 2 would be absurd. The hook does find SMLZ, but Love CD body blocks it. But then you save your previous Targon stack, or I guess your last Targon stack, for when a trade happens, so you can quickly compensate for the trade. Yeah, and here's the quick level 2 from SMLZ, but you saw some of that early harass already punishing Deft as he's being bullied nice and far back. Dade going heavy onto Baimi. He's going to take some early punishment here.
as it's traded right back from Baimi. So far, everything's looking a little bit safe, a little bit calm, a little bit standard, except for Condi. He's getting a bit bloodthirsty.
Quinn's in a game, and it's a little bit standard.
Yes.
Like I said, SMLZ has done stranger things. Urgot Nasus, I'll never forget. This time it's Quinn Alistar. I think I played this in solo queue just the other day.
It's a strong composition. Condi doesn't find the gank he wants in mid lane, so decides to head away and let that Baimi, that nice safe control mage, continue farming. Now, what are the win conditions for these teams? It's something we didn't really talk too much about during Champions Select because we were kind of caught off guard by the fact that there was that Quinn. Or at least I was.
Disarmed by the Quinn.
Yes.
EDG staying true to EDG identity. They're a very space control 5v5 style of team. They get a hyper scaling ADC. A lot of the times it was Jinx, whether it was Deft or Name. They had great success on Jinx always, and then they pair it with zone control. Rumble, Gragas displacement, Emperor's Divide, and then Nautilus is just a power pick for the support. He makes pretty much any lane just incredibly hard to deal with since he has such amazing wave pressure with his Riptide, as well as the gank pressure with his Dredge line.
And Masters on the other side with a very strong late game composition, rocking that Dade, Cassiopeia, and hopefully enough peel with the Gnar and Alistar. But how does SMLZ fit into that late game composition on Quinn?
Assassination potential. So Quinn is going to find a mid-game power spike. Also her itemization, depending what he wants to go, if he wants to go Bork into Trinity or maybe even a Bork into an Eye-Edge. Typically it's Blade of the Ruined King, which Blade did get a recent buff in the 5.10 patch, a range buff, so from 450 to 550. But it's about turning to bird form, zipping onto the back line on Jinx. Of course you have the blind on Quinn's Q, so it makes it very hard for pretty much any ADC to trade with Quinn when she gets up close and personal like that. Kind of a 1-2 punch back away.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll definitely keep an eye on a little bit later. We actually see a potential dive coming on right here. Looper's really close to Mega Gnar. He actually backs under the turret. He goes low, manages to land the wallop onto Clearlove. Clearlove does make it out of the turret range in time, and so far Looper makes it out of that one alive.
It was excellent rage management from Looper. I mean, really the dive was denied by the fact that he was going to turn Mega Gnar and get those extra resistances and extra health, which is why Clearlove and Koro backed off immediately.
Now, how does Looper fit into the late game team comp for Masters 3? Because you've got Cassiopeia, who's going to shred through anyone who gets close to her. You've got a dive coming out from Quinn. Does this mean that Looper doesn't really have to worry about peeling for Dade? Can he go for like a Frozen Mallet or a Triforce?
Gnar's build, hold on though, because Condi in the top lane.
Yeah, looking for a gank. He finds Koro. Koro gets level 6, however. He should be able to use the Equalizer, but decides to hold on to it. Condi gets the first blood. And
Condi had actually engineered that pretty early. The fact that they saw Clearlove, Condi was in the area. He waited until Clearlove had completely backed and wasn't in the area anymore, and then went for the 1v2. Excellent headbutt from Love CD.
Yeah, very good. Flame Choppers is going to find some more punishment from Deft, but you mentioned the headbutt. Mako not able to get close, and SMLZ still looking pretty good in bottom lane.
That's one of the first times I've seen that. Now, naturally, Alistar, if you think about kind of the priority of support picks right now in the meta, Alistar is the top tier, usually banned. Finally get to see him through this game. And then it's Nautilus is kind of a secondary option. I think that Nautilus offers more control to a wave because, again, the Riptide is just so oppressive in making sure that you have correct minion control. But Alistar's dive potential, anti-dive potential, and just relative safety that he offers his ADC is unmatched.
Yeah. Very strong bottom champion. He is paired up again with SMLZ on Quinn, who's doing very well on the CS, as we can see Deft shoving the wave out right now. Clearlove's on the bottom side of the map as well, so we could get a little bit of shenanigans. And Baimi actually is roaming out of that mid lane after he just jumped back, drops a defensive pink ward, heads right back on it.
And this is excellent for Deft and Mako to continue pushing the wave against SMLZ. Not only does it help them get their early back timers so they can start itemizing. Obviously, Jinx is going to look either for the pickaxe or the BF sword, depending on where Deft's gold values are. There he goes, grabs the BF sword. Whereas again, Quinn, typically she goes for a Blade of the Ruined King. We'll see what kind of direction SMLZ wants to itemize with her, but it's hard for her to clear creeps off the tower safely, especially against the AoE coverage of Jinx's rockets, as well as, again, the Riptide.
Yeah, not a lot of AoE clear in Quinn's kit, unless you count her ultimate, but it's not really designed to be AoE clear. Equalizer used by Koro to clear the minion wave. He wants to shove Looper right back under. Condi actually about to show himself in mid lane, and Mako going for that standard recall, Moby Boots, deep ward.
Hold on, though. Kandi's sitting in the wings. There's actually a lot of pings going down into the mid lane. Dade showing him the leg.
He's very low health, trying to bait it out. Love CD waiting on the side.
Oh.
Super Mega Death Rocket is a Super Mega Miss Rocket.
Cute little snipe there that was attempted, but good moves from Dade. He already has his tier collected. He got that fairly early before the 5-minute mark, so right on time as far as the power spike is concerned. He's going to hit that around 23, 25 minutes when it's going to be fully stacked.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep a track on Dade's progress if he can be the hyper carry that his team needs in order to secure this win against EDG. EDG, however, knowing that Dade's at low health, immediately collapse onto the dragon. Death is going to burn through that thing like a laser through cream cheese.
Nope, that's in the not. Maybe the neutral column.
That's an actual colloquialism. You've never heard that?
No.
That's
Laser through cream cheese?
Yeah.
I don't actually cut my cream cheese. I don't make bagels like
By
Victor.
a laser? I mean, you don't have a third arm for using lasers?
Is that what's on his head?
I certainly hope so. I'd be very intrigued otherwise. But yeah, Dade actually didn't recall off of that. So first dragon goes over to EDG. Dade stays in the mid lane. Despite being at low health, he is going to try relying on that slightly reduced Cassiopeia sustain. And so far, things are looking calm, cool, and collected. Clear Love and
Baimi
going for a bit of an invade here.
The issue, however, is that because Dade, like you said, is at low health and he's pretty vulnerable right now, he only has a tier. It's not going to help his battle stats much. Cassiopeia is in a bit of a power trough. It allows Clear Love and Baimi to be aggressive and to move forward and get those deep wards down.
Yeah, Looper going for a deep ward as well. Seems to be the first so far for Masters 3, as Clear Love is going to try securing that second buff. Ward spots it out, but there's not that much that Master can do. As you mentioned, Cassiopeia, not a lot of combat stats.
But it's
right
about
now.
what they do with the information. So you saw the ping go down on the blue side. They know that Baimi and Clear Love are on that side. Immediately, Kandi rotates bottom.
Yeah, he is waiting under that turret. We'll definitely have to see if he can get forward. The sweeper goes down to try to push it out, and really patient play from SMLZ right there, waiting for the wave. Kandi makes it in without being spotted. Zap comes out. Kandi waiting nice and far forward. We'll have to see if they can get this gank across, as that would be the second kill for Master 3. They really want to kill that squishy Jinx.
They have the Dragon Rage available. That's what it's called, yes? Dragon Kick?
It is Dragon Rage.
Dragon Rage.
Yep.
The Insec.
The Insect. The Insect Rage. Dade, ooh, does get the recall. Baimi decides to clear the minion wave instead with full vision. Baimi is going to shove this wave under the turret. That Azir AoE so strong. And Kandi says, you know what, I'm a patient man, but I'm not that patient, and heads back into the jungle.
Azir's tower pressure is pretty oppressive just because of how quickly and how safely he can push waves and apply damage to turrets.
Yeah, and that is the first turret going down for EDG. Unprotected, Kandi trying to look for the gank in the bottom, and Dade with the poorly timed recall lets that one go. And just like that, you suddenly have a lot of potential for Baimi to roam. Now, it's not something he's done before, but I think it could work pretty well with this composition.
And unfortunately, Masters 3 just kind of fumbled their momentum there. They had some information they saw where Clear Love was across map, tried to make a play happen in the bot lane, didn't get anything for it, and lost to mid tower.
Yeah, with that tower down, that is Dade trying to respond as he shoves his turret right back up. With the recall, he is going for that tank Cassiopeia once again. So
the
it looks
Rylai's.
like, yeah, we could see a very similar game to the one that they played against Unlimited Potential.
And the reason why Dade kind of focused onto the Rylai's, he's always been a big proponent of the tank Cassiopeia. She is a sustain mage versus a burst mage, which it's about making multiple rotations through your cooldowns, and obviously the health and more defensive stats that Rylai's is going to offer you. Obviously, it helps to have the slow where she can have more kite potential because she always also gets a natural speed up. But it's about surviving, elongating your sustain in a fight, and getting through more of those spell rotations, which is what the Rylai is really going to allow him. And it helps because Looper really hasn't been in a lot of team fights, at least for the last 3 games for his team, even though he's playing very high-impact team fighting champions. He's been much more focused on split pushing and across-map pressure.
And interestingly enough, that's been working out rather well for Masters, as they have won those past 3 games with the Looper split push. However, this time we'll definitely keep an eye on his progress if he's able to pull it off.
Well, a lot of it has been on the back of the fact that Dade manages to make himself so tanky, and again, he kind of fills both slots of I'm the tank and I'm the mage.
Ooh, Clear Love looking for a roam top. Baimi actually going to follow up behind him, but Looper's Gnar sense is tingling, managing the rage bar rather well. Hopefully he doesn't proc it too soon. The red buff is being taken by Baimi, but Looper, oh man, great sense right there. Gets the ward in, sees Clear Love, and gets out safe.
Actually, a rotation coming from Deft and Mako as well into that top lane. So there are 4 members of EDG up onto the top side of the map, which it's a perfect window of opportunity to do that because Dragon is down.
Yeah, it's not going to be up for another 2 minutes. The next big objective for EDG looks like it's going to be that top tier 1 as 4 members are top. They trade the bottom tier 1, but Masters 3 are just a little bit slow to the punch. There's going to be a cannon minion wave there in 1 second. Boom. I was really happy I timed that. I could have timed it better, but...
5.10, Jinx's attack speed has been changed so it scales more appropriately with her level as opposed to just being a massive buff early game for her. They do end up trading tower for tower. So technically not an awful trade for Masters 3 because as far as global gold is considered, they got exactly what they wanted. It's now the question of where are EDG going to rotate the resources with Dragon spawning in 1 minute and that setting up for the next stage of this game.
Yeah, EDG, this is actually pretty textbook for them. They take that top tier 1, shove the wave under to make sure Looper has something to deal with. Here comes a quick recall. Actually, no, the recall is canceled as Deft and Mako are going to clear out that Scuttle Crab, and I'm sure any second now we're going to see them head down.
Well, this is also why we've seen a change in itemization as far as the AD carries are concerned. They're not finishing their Infinity Edge as quickly as they would have normally. They're expending their gold and finishing their boots. So it's about grabbing that pickaxe, grabbing that BF, so the flat AD, so you can push down towers more effectively, because obviously with an Infinity Edge, you can't crit a tower.
Oh, looks like they're switching things up this time. Looper, his Mega Dart just falls off. Snare locks him down. The Flame Choppers aren't going to catch him, but Deft still follows up with the kill. And just like that, Looper's dead.
And able to rotate over there because, again, going back to the main point, the itemization of the ADC is changing in that they're finishing their tier 2 boots more quickly, taking the flat AD, finishing their boots so they're more mobile, and then just rotating around the map, picking up stray kills like that, but more importantly, pushing down free towers.
Yeah, we do have Dragon spawning right now. Masters aren't in position for it. Looper's going to be up in 6 seconds, and he's got his teleport, so Masters want to contest this. They might lose some big damage on that top tier 1 as Deft is shoving as hard as he can. Though this looks like it's going to be the first Dragon unless Clearlove can get a steal. And yeah, it's secured. Masters get their first Dragon.
That said, Looper is trying to make his way to the top lane, but Jinx is still so devastating to a tower when left unattended in a lane. Takes that second tier top tower for free.
Yeah, what an excellent play from Masters with that tier 2. That's going to keep Looper locked up in that top lane. Dade finally gets a blue buff as his second was stolen away from EDG, and slowly but surely the ward line of EDG creeps further and further forward, and Masters 3, they just want to make it to late game, man.
And this is what you see happen. So they've opened up this elongated farm lane, although as they shift Deft and Mako back down towards the last standing outer tier tower. I was going to say, they opened up this elongated farm lane for Koro in the bot lane, where he's just picking up free CS, free experience. Obviously, the level 11 Rumble is much more potent than the level 10 because he gets 2 points into his ultimate.
So we just saw that top tier 2 turret going down. Dragon's off the map. There are still a lot of forward wards for EDG. What's next for them? They've got some pretty scary damage. Morellonomicon is finished. The IE now finished, and even Koro starting to look pretty scary on that Rumble.
Moving Deft around and responding appropriately to tower pressure is what they're looking for. They move their ADC and their support down there because they want that last standing outer tier tower. And then again, they move Koro to the opposite side of the map because he has his TP available, and so he can just continue to soak up free and solo EXP.
With that, Koro is going to catch a wave as Looper shoves it under. Still hasn't quite used that teleport just yet as Masters 3 are looking for some sort of weakness, some sort of crack in the EDG armor, but instead they only show their own as Deft looks like he's going to shove up in the bottom, and with 3 members down there, they might take this last tier 1 turret.
And that was kind of the question, is how would Beimei affect the identity of EDG? Obviously, he's not the big flash, draw attention to the mid lane and allow Deft to kind of run rampant. He's still more of that control, kind of follow along with the team as opposed to Pawn, but it's working out perfectly for them as EDG continue to rotate Deft around to free objectives.
Yeah, excellent shot calling out of EDG as they have now secured 4 turrets 17.5 minutes into the game to Master 3's 1 turret taken. And it is, again, even in Dragons, we're going to have to wait for that next one to spawn before we probably see any major team fights. Looper continuing to shove in the top lane and answer with something, anything, to sort of stem this hemorrhage that EDG have opened in Masters' side, but he's not able to take it.
There's no real reason for Masters 3 to fight a full 5v5 right now. They're more so looking for skirmishes just because Condi is on this Lee Sin pick. Lee Sin is very powerful in a small skirmish as opposed to a big full 5v5.
Yeah, and even with Condi's build, he's gone for a Warriors And he does have the first blood of the game, but he just hasn't really been able to make any of his ganks pay off. EDG seem to have a sixth sense for where Masters 3 are at all times.
They've got great ward coverage, and likewise, they have a Ruby Sightstone already fully upgraded. So Mako really prioritizing getting as many wards on the map as possible. Now, obviously, the Ruby Sightstone doesn't grant you more wards than the normal Sightstone. It just allows you to get more recharges, and that kind of fits to, again, EDG's rotating def style. Mako will walk into an area, he'll set down some wards, and then as soon as he's done in that area and they're rotating def, he'll immediately, instead of wasting another back because he has the Ruby Sightstone, just place down more wards.
Yeah. Another layer of wards creeps into Masters jungle as the ward line has fallen back just a little bit. Masters 3 looks like they might want to put some pressure on the top lane. Mako and Deft are waiting in that brush to catch the minion wave as it is about to be shoved in. Let's see if anything happens as Clearlove looks for a counter gank.
Have to be very careful. The dive potential with Gnar, Alistar is still very potent. That said, Looper doesn't have a lot of rage stacked up, so it could be very dangerous.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep a track on whether or not that dive works out. And so far, this looks like it's EDG's game. They've got complete control over the map. They are shoving the turrets that they want to. They're taking the objectives that they want to. The only thing they've missed so far was that first blood and that first dragon.
What's really concerning for me as far as Masters 3 team composition is this Quinn pick again. We talked about how Quinn is going to have a massive power spike at level 2 with Alistar. That said, Mako and Def did a fantastic job making sure that they got the priority push on initially into the lane to kind of deny them that level 2 surprise. But since then, Quinn really hasn't been doing anything, just kind of solo farming, kept up even in CS with Jinx, but that means a completely different thing to a hyper carry like Jinx versus an assassin-based champion like Quinn.
Yeah, and EDG opted into that matchup. They picked into that lane. They didn't look for the lane swap. They knew from the beginning that was something that they wanted to do. And so far, it seems like EDG are playing this all according to the plan. Much like play-by-plays have their yellow legal pad, EDG seems to be following their checklist step by step, just ticking off boxes.
I see. The thing that I'm curious that this could possibly open up is a 1-3-1. So typically when Zed's picked up, you see a 1-3-1 because you have the split push potential once he has his Blade of the Rune King because of his assassination potential. Quinn has incredible mobility. Likewise, she will have assassination potential still on Jinx because, again, she has the blind in the 1v1 duel. So we'll see if with Looper's split pushing natural tendency, if maybe we'll see Looper in a top lane and SMLZ kind of off on his own in the bot lane, or mix it up that direction.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep a track. So far, SMLZ has not had any crazy assassinations. Mako contesting every single ward that Master are trying to drop forward. And take a look at the vision for Master right now. It has fallen back to a completely defensive stance as the pink wards are being used to protect their own jungle from any invades from EDG while they're continuing to buy time for their assassin and late game hyper carry. But so far, it has not quite yet paid off. Now, Dragons just respawned.
I like how Quinn gets to be an assassin now. SMLZ is like, I gave up on the AD carry road a long time ago. I want to see him bird in.
Yeah, he's just going to play Zed bottom lane now. Oh, that's why Echo was banned. You can't play AD carry Echo. Now, Dragon has spawned. It's 20 minutes in. Baron's on the map as well. EDG almost find Looper out of position. He did just use Mega Gnar, so he's got to start stacking that rage up once again. Some pings going down as Masters look for the pick, but it's Love CD who's caught. He gets a good knock-up. Condi with the Dragon Rage forces the disengage, but that's a Dragon Rage burn. Flash comes out as it turns into a full fight. Looper doesn't have anywhere near Mega Gnar. Dade goes in. SMLZ trying to run away from the equalizer. This is now Condi and Looper running away. Love CD with a huge knock-up, but there's just no follow-up. EDG have killed 3 members so far. They're able to zone away the remaining 2. They're going to take this dragon.
So effectively, Masters 3 just couldn't get on the same side of the fight. Unfortunately for them, yeah, they had 2 members picked out, Looper as well as Love CD, but unfortunately Looper had no rage stacked up. He wasn't able to get into Mega Gnar form to maybe look for a massive CC chain, and one after the other, EDG just ripped through Masters 3.
Yeah, the damage on Deft and Bamey is incredible. I mean, the Luden's Echo, Morel, and Omicron just shredded through the lack of magic resist on Masters 3 and did some serious work. Now, with that dragon secured, that looks to be a pretty scary position for Masters, and I'm actually remarkably surprised that EDG didn't go for the Baron. That's something that they've done before, especially with Deft so strong and the Azir for shredding through, but Here's a breakdown of that fight.
So we are going to see the replay. Again, Looper is going to come from the backside. It's initially Love Seed that's caught up. He's going to not proc his ultimate yet, but he's just going to walk away. Here's the big thing, though. Looper immediately caught. You see he has a very little rage bar. The Petrifying Gaze does land perfectly onto Coral, but lands on him when he has his Flame Spitter up, so he's able to continuously output damage. So unfortunately, they just couldn't follow up any sort of CC lock.
Yeah, and with that, EDG increased their kill lead to 4-1. Dade's caught out here. Unfortunately, that tank build is only going to buy him time as the CC comes out. Equalizer to force the disengage. This is some damage from Bamey as he goes in. Looper teleports from behind. Clearlove, however, has killed Dade. Is SMLZ going to be the damage that they need? Deft gets the reset. He manages to land a crit, but SMLZ does get out of there alive. This is a fight in front of the Baron pit. So far, 3 members have gone down. Looper looks like he's about to go down as well. He's taken so much damage from Bamey. He drops, and all 5 members of EDG are still alive. They turned onto the Baron.
And more important was the fact that Condi went down, so this is going to be a free Baron for EDG. Very early one, 24 minutes. And no one punishes like any team with Baron than EDG.
Yeah, the Zap finds SMLZ. There's no way that he can steal that. I mean, I would have applauded the Herculean effort, but it was just too little too late at that point. 1v5 against EDG. And with that, they secure the Baron. They're not even going to recall just yet. They start the wave push.
SMLZ showing how viable Quinn is with a nice score line of 0-0 and 0.
He's doing well. He's actually up in CS by 2. Which is pretty fantastic.
I think he's just, he's there to be a distraction to Deft, as Deft like tried to chase him out of that team fight. Oh, chase the bird, the little pretty bird. Yeah,
so we talked a little bit about how the main damage from Masters would come from Dade, but so far EDG have been doing such an excellent job of letting Dade play into that team. He knows that he's pretty much the primary initiation as far as these team fights are going, so they're letting Dade get out of position and continuously shredding through his health bar, and that shows in his 0-2 scoreline.
Well, the problem is he shouldn't have to be the primary initiation. I mean, Cassiopeia's ultimate, yeah, it can be a great initiation tool, but it's also a great defensive tool when you try to dive back onto Cassie because she is so immobile. He's got a team comp lineup with Gnar and Alistar. The fact that Cassiopeia has to be a primary initiator there is a problem.
And so far, it's not been working out so far for Masters 3. They're down 8,000 gold, 1 dragon, and more importantly, that Baron buff. And the damage from Deft shreds through. He builds a Bilgewater Cutlass on top of that static Shiv. The Siege, Masters don't even have a chance to breathe as the minion wave takes down the tier 2 and immediately gets onto the inhibitor. Flash from Koro as Dade zones him away from the outside, but this cannon minion's going to do some serious work.
It's because of the fantastic wave clear that Quinn offers her team.
Yes. And look at that.
With her, I think it's 525, 550 range.
Yeah, she just cleared that cannon minion like it was nothing.
1-2 pop.
Yes. And a little bit of a swing from EDG sends them to the bottom lane. They've got some minions up onto the tier 2. This is the last tier 2 from Masters 3, but they're not able to take anything off of it. And the push continues. Koro still rocking that Baron buff, going for a 1-4 split. Is Deft going to be able to get onto this turret? Zap lands the moment it does. Clearlove and Mako get forward. Love CD gets chunked away from his own tier 2. The slam comes out. Explosive cast finds Love CD. He's got that very strong defense, but he's just not able to stay alive. Deft brings him low.
And we talked about how this composition was great in zone control to allow Deft to literally run away with this game. But the thing that we didn't touch on upon is not only is it zone control, but it's siege potential.
Oh, yeah.
Jinx can melt through these towers, and that's really been the story of this game, is EDG's superior matured rotations to all of these free objectives and a surplus gold lead.
Finds Dade. He's brought low, drops the barrier to try to keep himself alive. Mako actually is going to go down here, but 2 members fall for that trade. Deft with the reset gets not 1, but now 2 kills as he turns now onto Looper, the last remaining survivor for Master 3, the last bastion of hope. He falls. That beacon goes out. And this is EDG going to be taking game number 1 as they look for the Nexus after this inhibitor falls.
The bright side, though, SMLZ is on the board.
They are. They do have 2 kills, and SMLZ has an assist.
50% kill participation. Sign me up for Quinn.
Confirmed. Quinn viable. So yeah, that's EDG taking game number 1. Deft gets dove under the turret. He's still undefeated on Jinx, rocking that incredible, it was 16-0?
17-0.
17-0.
It is now 18-0.
Holy cow. That is a terrifying Jinx locked in, and Masters played right into that with that team. EDG end up taking the win.
It's appropriate that you say holy cow because obviously Deft tried to dive the tower and he just got went on a trip with...
He went on a, I would call it a magical journey, but it was not a
No,
magical
that's not
journey.
All-Star.
Yeah, but that was EDG taking a very, very convincing win. We talked about the win conditions for Masters 3. They didn't really meet the neutral conditions.
They didn't give themselves a lot of versatility in what their composition could do for them. We talked about kind of the split push potential, but unfortunately when every lane falls behind just because EDG are making such superior, quicker rotations to, again, speed up into the mid-game snowball. Jinx snowball is very hard.
Oh, yeah.
And I talked about it during the game, and I kind of want to touch on it again. It's the change of the itemization in the ADC and kind of what the ADC role has really become for China. Obviously, this is the region king of AD carries. You had people like Wei Xiao, like Uzi, like Name. Now, of course, it's Deft, Imp, and that crew. But finishing your boots too first.
Yeah.
Immediately getting the flat AD and the pickaxe and the BF sword, and then just making sure that the boot's mobility is just moving you around the map and just taking quick towers as opposed to elongating a lane phase. Like, you think about Wei Xiao's old style, he used to just stall out games to 35, 40 minutes, wait until he had his core itemization and be like, guys, now it's time to 5v5.
Yeah.
So the evolution of the ADC in China is very fun to watch.
We saw how successful EDG pulled it out with the Jinx that game, and SMLZ not quite so successful on Quinn, but they will have a chance at redemption. We're going to be getting into Game 2 after just a short break. Don't